Hi there guys, and welcome back to the Tantrum Kitesurf Show. Today we're going to be talking about why water starting isn't the problem that you think you have. Now this is a roundabout way of saying a lot of people who come to us, at the water start stage, they said to us, look, you need to water start, they've come on our water starting specific course or whatever. They get on our course and we find out, look, your problem, the reason that you're not learning to water start has nothing to do with the mechanics of the water start. Your problem starts way before then. And this comes back to fundamentals, okay? It's this idea, what we see all the time. Someone goes like, yeah, need to learn to water start. Okay, well, I've done all the other bits, done my 3-day course, whatever. I'm in the water, I've got the board at my feet, I need to learn to water start. I want to ride, I want to do it in 2 hours. Okay, great, okay, yeah, we can do that, it's no problem. If you're at the level that we need you to be at. Now, that level has nothing to do with whether you can go out and get the board on your feet and actually do the water start. It's to do with an awful lot of things before that. And this is where 99% of people at this level go wrong. They become so focused on riding, on cracking the water start, that they've forgotten or they've never learned often all the bits that come before it. What do I mean? Upwind body dragging. If you can't get your board back every time you come off the board, you're going to spend most of the time coming back into the beach, looking for your board, swimming back out to find it, and going back up the beach to start again. This is something we see all the time. This drives me and them crazy. Right, cool, let's go. Perfect day for water starting. Let's go on the beach, let's nail this. And we practice water starting once because the rest of the time they're just floating up and down while I'm trying to teach them upwind body dragging, which they don't want to learn because it's not what they're focused on. It's not the riding, okay? The other big one, we always say if you can't sit in the water with your back to wind and hold yourself there while you practice, there's no point as teaching the mechanics of the water start, because if you can't hold yourself back to wind while you're being smashed by waves, while there's current spinning you around, while the kite's flinging you back and forth, it's no good, because we might get one attempt at learning to water start, you crash the kite, it all goes wrong, you come back in, drowned out on the beach, and we have to go back and do it again. Relaunching the kite. If you can't relaunch the kite on water, every time you crash the kite, you're going to spend half an hour getting the kite back up, or you're going to have to come back into the beach, have someone relaunch you, head back up again. Even simpler, if you cannot walk back up the beach flying your kite, it means you practice once, you get stuck at the bottom, you have to take all your kit down, walk it back up again, set it up at the top, get someone to come and launch you and head out again. Again, it just wastes hours. And why is this important? Well, because wherever you are, if you come to Tarifa, let's say, the windiest kite surf spot in the world, you come to Tarifa, let's say we've got a day of 4 hours of wind. Well, if you spend 3 of those hours doing your lines, taking your kite down, putting your kite back up, trying to relaunch it, having someone to relaunch it on the beach, you spend half an hour actually learning to water start. Once we get people to that point where they can walk back up the beach, they can body drag back to get their board when they lose their board, because you'll be losing the board lots at this stage. They can hold themselves back to wind and practice while they're getting smashed by waves, while the currents turn. They can get themselves back into position each time and practice, so we can put them in at the top of the run, 500 metre run down the beach, practice. They practice 20 times, they get themselves out, they walk back up to the top, they go again. Once we're at that stage, you will learn to water start in minutes. It's that simple. But until you're at that stage, you're going to find the water start really frustrating. And it's nothing to do with the water start, it's to do with all these other bits. Okay, so what can you do about this? How can you actually help this? Well, the first thing is, don't go down the beach on sort of, big wave days, whatever, full powered kite, full length lines, and just practice that water start. And just, if you find yourself getting frustrated by these other parts, focus on them. Obviously, if you're the person that always loses their board, has to come back into the beach, drag back out to get their board, spends half an hour doing that, just practice upwind body dragging for half an hour. Just practice that. Just practice walking back up the beach if you struggle with that. If you struggle with the relaunch, just go in and practice with that. Forget about the bits that complicate it. Focus, isolate the skills that you're struggling with and do them. And again, from our experience, I would say it comes down to the ability to walk up the beach unaided, flying the kite, body dragging to recover the board, being able to sit with your back to wind and practice with the board on your feet and practice, practice, practice to be able to easily get the board on your feet. Okay, to control the power in the kite and to know where that power is and to be able to relaunch the kite easily and quickly off the water. So if you're struggling with any of those areas, I would go and practice that. Dedicate the first hour of your session to that. I'm going to nail that first, and then I'm going to practice the water start. Because that's what you're struggling with, not the water start. The water start itself, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it comes very, very quickly once you've reached that stage where you can just sit there and practice, 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 okay? The other super tip that I can give you on this, the real trick that made all the difference with us, is shorten your lines until you're at that stage where you actually need the power to get up and riding. When you're actually riding, you're doing it all properly and you're coming out of the water and you're gliding along. Until you reach that stage, you don't need power. And all power is doing is making your life more difficult. So what I would suggest, take a smaller kite than you need, underpower yourself, and if you can, shorten the lines. Now, there's loads of videos on YouTube about how to do this, but basically you fold the lines over and reattach them at the bar end so you halve the length of the line. So let's say you've got 22 metre lines, they go back down to 11 metre lines. And this makes your life so much easier. The kite relaunch is easier. It's easier to control. There's less power in it. It's more responsive. Makes your life so much easier at this stage, and it's a real trick that you can really use to fast forward this process and get yourself to the point where you are, as we say, sat there practicing the steady pull over and over and over again. So that would be my top tip. Technique wise, the other big problem that affects people here, and this is where it really starts to show for the first place, is something that's much more difficult to diagnose. The technical stuff is fairly straightforward. You can watch a video on YouTube, okay, cool, that's where I'm suffering, this is what I need to do. The other areas are much more difficult to ascertain, to understand that you're there, and this is basically that your body isn't prepared for it. The great example of this is blokes generally, and there's a biological, physiological reason for this apparently, because our hips don't bend the same way as women's, and we're generally not as flexible in our posterior chain, that's the back of the body, getting the board on your feet. This is a huge problem for a lot of people. They just can't get the board on their feet quickly, so they end, on a wavy day, they're sat there, they need 10 seconds to get the board on their feet, and they never get there. General levels of fitness, they just cannot last long enough to get the practice that they need. So after half an hour, they're knackered, they're flailing, and they're really struggling to keep going. Core strength. This is a huge one, a huge factor in being able to keep your back to wind while you're practicing. Because if you've got no core strength, this is all just squidgy and soft, you just spin. Back and forth, and it's impossible to give yourself any kind of consistency going through. Now, this is much more difficult, A, to diagnose, but B, to actually, not more difficult, but it just takes longer to treat. But this is the crucial thing. It all comes back to this thing, the body that you're working with. If this body isn't ready for the task you're trying to put it through, you are going to struggle a lot more. Now, this isn't, as I say, it's not going to be cured in a day, and it's certainly not going to be cured by watching videos on YouTube. We have put together a course that will help you with this. If you are interested in that, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link should be appearing above your head now. If not, the link should be in the show notes, or if you're on Facebook, above or below this video, check that out. That will take you to a video which will explain what this course is about and what it's designed to help you. Basically, for 30 days, it's designed to get you kite surf fit, kite surf strong. Because kite surfing fitness, as you're probably aware, is very different to most other forms of fitness. It just doesn't, going out and jogging just doesn't cut it. Going to the gym and doing CrossFit doesn't work. Often it is detrimental to your performance. Okay, so they're the two things that I would say, is that they're the two areas to focus on. Look, focus first on the fundamentals of the water start, not the water start itself. The water start will come. Once you're at that point where you can sit back to wind, the water start itself will just come in time. But what's even more important is at that stage, you are ready to go and do it yourself. You're independent because you can go out, you're safe, you know what to practice, you can practice over and over again without making a fool of yourself, without being a safety hazard, and feeling confident in what you're doing. So that's why that's crucial. But you need to combine that with having a body that can actually do what you're asking it to do. And this is, I say, this is the major stall point that we see that people just don't account for. And this is so important because people don't, people think, oh, well, I'll just get better at that as I kite surf. But kite surfing is terrible fitness. You cannot use kite surfing to replace fitness training. Why? Because we're dependent on the wind. And it just doesn't all come together often enough to actually benefit your fitness. If you're kite surfing, which is quite normal, once a month, twice a month for a few hours, it's just never going to actually change these things, because you'll make a quick change and then it'll just go back to where it was. So trying to increase core strength through kite surfing, trying to increase flexibility through kite surfing, it's just not going to happen. So you need another program to target that. And I say that's what we've done in our 30-day course. Link above, below, somewhere on the video, somewhere like that. Okay, so these are the two fundamental parts that I would see, that we see over and over and over and over again, are the things that stop people from getting to this holy grail of cracking the water start and learning to ride. So guys, hope that was useful for you. If you want more like this, check out our website. We've got loads of stuff going on. We've got camps, we've got online courses on there. There's a page where you can ask me questions, upload your videos, where I'll get back to you on video feedback, stuff like this. Check out the website, loads going on there. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you probably in the next video next week, I imagine. See you soon. Cheers, guys. Goodbye.